The last team we have is the Milwaukee Bucks in this division. Start with the big stuff. Fired Mike Budenholzer. Sort of controversial, I guess, but at the same time, is this one of those where we say like it's Kevin Durant's shoe size determined, bought Mike Budenholzer like 2 more years? Like, do we need to trot that out?
I mean, I wasn't a fan of the firing, but I don't know enough about Adrian. And you're going to get to they hired Adrian Griffin,
right? We know less about Adrian Griffin, so I mean that's the other issue. But it's one of those things that kind of felt like you get it, right? It felt like it was time. There'd been enough whispers, and you got to, if you're going to change something, you can't change the team. You got to change the coach. I get it. It's unfortunate. It may not be an upgrade. We'll see. Brought back Chris Middleton, 3 years, 93 with a player option. Re-signed Brook Lopez, 2 years, 48. Seemed like
Brook Lopez. He came to Milwaukee. He was on basically the fringes of the entire NBA. He was coming. Didn't he sign for the biannual when he went to Milwaukee?
Well, it was just like, I mean, go back farther than that. I mean, just, the Lakers were kind of like, we don't,
you could leave. Bye.
Basically. Yeah. And then he's, is in the defensive player of the year running every year after that and shoots threes and is great. Those were huge deals. We'll talk about them more, I'm sure, but like those were not givens either. I don't think, especially in the case of Lopez, who seems like he almost
Rockets would argue that he was a member of Houston.
Right. So this could have gone way worse. It didn't. So I don't know how you factor that into a grade, but we'll do our best. Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley, Robin Lopez, and AJ Green are all aboard via minimums. Joe Ingles gone, Javon Carter gone, Wes Matthews gone. I think that's pretty much it. I didn't hit on any of the draft stuff because Chris Livingston at number 58, who interestingly they signed to a 4-year deal. That's kind of fun. We're seeing more of those for second rounders. Andre Jackson comes aboard for a 2030 second round pick. He was number 36. And shock of all shocks, Thanasis Antetokounmpo is back. He will return and not go sign with a team that is trying to poach Giannis in a couple years. Did I miss anything there?
I don't think so. I still can't believe they got both Jay Crowder and Malik Beasley on 1-year minimums that aren't even 1+1s. So the team's going to be reimbursed for like to offset the difference of the salary, because when you add the player option, you have to pay out the full boat of it, which is why Matt Ishbia received so much credit for what he did at Phoenix. So that's a win from the team perspective. And, the player option only does the player a solid. Like, it's not doing the team, because if they're good, they're going to decline it anyway. Those are two players that could really, I would argue, those are two players that could technically still be a part of their closing five. I know people pencil in Grayson Allen, maybe Pat Connaughton into that spot. It probably could more likely to be, I would say, Malik Beasley than a Jay Crowder, just because Jay Crowder at the 3 is a little, or at the 2 rather, is a little weird.
Yeah.
But Malik Beasley comes in, that is pure 3-point volume. They're clearly, I don't know enough about Chris Livingston, but they're clearly very high on him. Mm-hmm. And I like what they did. Again, I wasn't a fan of the Budenholzer firing, but I like that they're very clearly on this like 2 to 3 year timeline where Chris Middleton and Giannis come off the books right now at the same time. Brook Lopez comes off the year before. Drew Holiday comes off the year before. He has that player option. Bobby Portis comes off the same year as Giannis and Chris Middleton. Ditto for Pat Connaughton. And so they're now, it's not, I don't want to say it's fluid, but like everyone in place is on like this same timeline. And so you use the information that you have from season by season to figure out what you need to do. And I think some people will try and focus on the absence of what he's eligible, that Giannis won't sign an extension. It just makes sense for him to wait so he can tack on more years as we move forward. I thought, given what limited tools they had, aside from the coaching change, which I just don't think is a guaranteed to be a home run, I think it helps that Giannis wanted him. This might be in the running for maybe not the best offseason in the NBA, but like, was it the most under the radar good offseason in the NBA?
It feels like the biggest exhale, like the biggest relieved exhale offseason for sure. Because again, like Lopez was kind of gone. And then it's a little bit hyperbolic, but like, if you believe the Bucks are a top tier title threat, I think without Brook Lopez, they're just not. So like that just, oh, thank God. Like, so we got at least another year, probably 2. I mean, Lopez's age is a real factor, but like you got another year or 2 where we're right back up there. I would expect the Bucks to win more games than anyone in the East in the regular season, just like they did last year. And so I gave him a B+. I don't think I said that. And the only reason it's not an A is because I really don't know about the coaching thing. And like I don't think I factored that in as heavily for a lot of other coaching changes. But what we do know is that Budenholzer has coached a team to a title and has presided over really exceptional regular seasons and has figured out how to make this team work during the year so it can secure that high seed. And then the playoff record is not, it just, that's why he's not back. Like that's it. There's no guarantee Adrian Griffin is going to be any better at that sort of stuff. So that's the only reason. And the stakes are so high because this is title or nothing for this team.
Yeah.
And you've got a guy that may or may not be an upgrade. And that uncertainty, like and then it's not a little unfair because it's like, well, who should they have brought in that would have definitely been an upgrade? I don't know who that is, but I'm just not sure.
For you, Greg Popovich,
Popovich would have done it. Well, I don't know. Okay. He slipped. Everyone likes to say, but yeah. So it's a B+. You could definitely talk me higher, but that's.
I'm going to try to. Okay. I gave him an A, and that's while not having enough confidence in the coaching change because one, as I mentioned at the top, going with the guy that Giannis Antetokounmpo wants is valuable. And you at least know what you have in Budenholzer. And that was the only way for you to meaningfully improve your team was to make the coaching change. So the fact that you had, I don't want to say the courage, but the gall to do it. And then also, I don't think Middleton's deal, he's making less, so it was a given. That Lopez deal was not a given for them to pay.
And they had to come over the top, right? Presumably. They had to just say, well, we were ready to spend X, but now it's going to have to be Y. Let's do it. And a lot of teams wouldn't do that.
Right. And I won't applaud ownership for it, but like you kept this core together. You did the other thing that I think that's really important is aside from the coaching change, which again, some people would have made it after not just this past offseason, but the one before that. So it was a move that other people would have made. And we don't know enough about Adrian Griffin as a head coach. That's the other thing. I'm not going to pretend to be a whiz. If it was someone who I firmly believe should have kept their job in Mike Budenholzer, the timing was awful, by the way. The way it trickled out that his brother had passed away. I hope the family's doing okay. The optics on that were just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But so you pay those contracts, but you didn't overreact to what happened against the Heat. Giannis dealt with a back injury. Middleton was not himself defensively for pretty much all of last year. He eventually turned a corner offensively. And just like the Heat caught lightning in a bottle with some of their shooting. It's like it just felt like a singularity what happened. If Giannis doesn't miss time in that series and if he's fully healthy, I'm picking the Bucks again without any regrets. So the fact that you kept this core together where I feel like Zach Lowe has said this and it feels on the money of the really good, really great teams, whenever something goes wrong in Milwaukee, like something basic, like an early playoff exit or an injury, it feels like the sky is falling where it doesn't always feel like that for everyone else. And so the Bucks could have I don't think they didn't have these other options, but they certainly could have looked at and said, well, we need to make like an impulsive trade, or we're certainly not going to pay Brook Lopez. And the fact that they didn't, and the fact that again, Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley, two of the 5 to 7 best minimum flyers, I would think in the league, maybe 2 of the best 10 because Phoenix has a shit ton of them. I thought they had a great offseason relative to the strictures within which they were working.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And I think I'm going to talk this up like I had the higher grade for them, but you actually did. Like you talk about options and they didn't have alternatives. Like they had to get Middleton right and they had to get Lopez right and they had to nail multiple minimum signings. And they just because if Middleton leaves, he just leaves. And if Lopez leaves, he just leaves. And you're just significantly worse in the most meaningful way because you go from contender to not. So I think because they were kind of walking the tightrope with no net and managed to make it across, I think that probably, that the degree of difficulty or sort of the stakes of failure were very different for the Bucks than they were for a lot of other teams.
It will be interesting to see whether they are open to putting their 2029 or 2031 on the table for this group in the middle. Like if a Bogdan Bogdanovic becomes available or something, someone like that makes a lot of sense for them, or even a Bojan if they can get to the salary number, because that's still what's sort of unsettled here is like, okay, you have this timeline. How much are you willing to continue investing in it?
Right. I mean, it's still just Giannis. Giannis just is the timeline. So I wonder if you think he's going to re-sign for the max and just be around for 5 more years after this deal's done, you just keep punting on those draft picks, right? Like that's the only way to do it.